I had been driving for hours that night. I was heading home from a relative's place, and the trip was long enough that I wasn't expecting to get back until well past 2 a.m. Normally, I didn't mind driving at night, no traffic, no distractions, just the road stretching endlessly ahead of me. But for whatever reason, that particular night, something about the silence felt heavier than usual. I started feeling really tired, that kind of exhaustion where your body almost feels weighted down. My eyelids were heavy, and even blasting the radio wasn't helping anymore. Finally, I decided to stop at a rest area just off the highway. The parking lot was nearly empty, lit only by a few flickering fluorescent lights. There was one other car parked far off in the corner, completely dark. No headlights, no engine running, windows tinted so dark that I couldn't make out if anyone was sitting inside. I got out, stretched, and headed to the restroom. The whole place had this eerie stillness, the kind where even your own footsteps sound too loud. When I came back out, my car was the only one parked near the building. That other car hadn't moved an inch. As soon as I got back into my car and shut the door, something made my stomach drop. The car across the lot suddenly lit up, its headlights snapping on, pointed directly at me. I froze for a moment, then quickly started my car. As soon as I shifted into gear, the other car's engine roared to life, its beams still blinding me in the mirror. I pulled out of the lot, and seconds later the other vehicle followed. At first I thought maybe it was a coincidence, but as I merged back onto the highway, I realized they were tailing me. Not close enough to be obvious, but not far enough to lose sight of either. This went on for miles. Sometimes their headlights would suddenly vanish, and I'd think maybe they turned off. But no, the faint glint of metal under the moonlight always confirmed they were still back there, just driving with no lights at all. By then, panic had set in. My hands were sweating on the wheel, and I could feel my pulse thudding in my throat. After nearly 15 minutes of this, I made a split-second decision and swerved onto an exit ramp at the last second. The other car sped past, staying on the highway. I pulled into a gas station and just sat there for a while, shaking. It was hard to process what had just happened. The next morning, when I looked up the area online, I nearly dropped my phone. There had been multiple reports of attempted abductions at late-night rest stops along that same stretch of highway. Police believed one suspect had been targeting travelers who stopped alone at night. That realization hit me like a brick. If I hadn't left when I did, I honestly don't know what would have happened. Back in 2020, I was working at a downtown hotel, pulling overnight shifts. By the time I usually clocked out, it was past 3 a.m., and the city streets were basically dead. My car was parked in a multi-level garage a block away. Those garages always creeped me out at night. The echo of your own footsteps, the way shadows stretched unnaturally across the concrete, it always felt like something was hiding just out of sight. But after months of walking through there, I got used to it. Or at least I thought I did. One night I was the only one leaving. I walked into the garage, my shoes clicking against the ground, each sound bouncing through the empty levels. My car was on the 4th floor. I remember thinking it was strange that there weren't any other vehicles around, just mine, sitting in the middle of the row. As I got closer, I froze in place. Someone was standing behind my car. They weren't moving, weren't pacing or fidgeting, just standing perfectly still, facing toward me as if they had been waiting for me to show up. My first thought was that maybe it was a security guard or another worker, but nothing about the way this person stood felt right. They didn't call out, didn't shift their weight, didn't even pretend like they weren't staring directly at me. I didn't want to go near my car anymore, so I acted like I had parked somewhere else and kept walking. My plan was to take the stairs back down and maybe wait it out until whoever it was left. But the moment I walked past, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing behind me. I sped up. They sped up too. My chest tightened, and I broke into a sprint, running down the ramp toward the next level. The sound of those footsteps pounding after me sent my adrenaline surging. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with shaky hands. I told the dispatcher someone was following me, and she told me to get outside as quickly as I could. I ran until I burst out onto the street, and that's when I saw them, 2 uniformed officers patrolling a late-night beat. I ran to them, breathless, pointing back at the garage, but the man never came out. Later, police pulled up the security footage. What I saw still makes me sick to think about. That man had been standing behind my car for nearly 40 minutes before I ever got there, just standing there, waiting. I grew up in a rural area where houses were spread far apart, separated by thick patches of forest. At night it got pitch black. No street lights, no passing cars, just darkness and silence. One night, around 1:30 a.m., I was lying in bed, scrolling on my phone. My bed sat directly under a wide window that looked out into the backyard. Usually I'd keep the blinds down, but for some reason that night they were cracked open. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow taps right against the glass above my head. My heart jumped into my throat. Nobody should have been outside, not in the backyard, not at that hour. I froze, staring at the faint reflection of my room in the glass, too terrified to move. A few seconds passed in silence, then came another knock. Louder this time. I slid off the bed and crouched low, trying to stay quiet. My breathing felt too loud. I thought about yelling for my parents, but some instinct told me not to make a sound. That's when I heard it, footsteps in the grass, soft but deliberate, moving away from the window, circling toward the front of the house. I crawled across the floor and peeked out just enough to see through the glass. In the pale moonlight, I could make out a figure walking across the yard. They were holding something long in one hand, like a pipe or a crowbar. That was all I needed to see. I bolted to my parents' room, shaking them awake. My dad grabbed his rifle and stormed outside, shouting into the night. Whoever it was, they disappeared into the trees before he could catch a good look at them. The next morning, we searched around the window. That's when we found them, footprints, clear as day, right in the dirt beneath my window. Whoever had been standing there wasn't just passing by. They had been watching me, standing just inches away from where I slept. We never found out who it was, but to this day I can't sleep with my window uncovered. Not after knowing how close someone came to getting inside.